Mauro, just start off by asking how does it feel to be the next coach of York United?
It feels good. It feels good. I think I've been at the club now for quite some time. We've been on a roller coaster of events, but it's finally good to be stable, to understand what the ownership wants as a club, and obviously to implement my ideas and help them achieve the long-term goals is something that I'm excited for, and obviously excited for the opportunity.
Tell us a little bit about that process and the conversations with the owners. And was this something when Benjamin decided to leave that you knew you wanted to put your name forward for?
It all happened very naturally, to be honest. Obviously, they had long negotiations with Benja, and they didn't see, one wanted to go another way, they wanted to go the other. So it was always something that we were involved in to a certain extent. Obviously, as a staff, we were always prepping the following year. So again, everything was always on the move. When they made it official, obviously internally that they weren't gonna continue working together. Jorge and the ownership talked to me, asked me what my opinion was and if I want to put my name forward. We went through the process, the interviewing process. We had a couple meetings, debated on what the image of the club wanted to be, which way we wanted to go with it, and how we wanted to make this grow. And I think obviously I know the corners around the house quite well. I've been here for some time now, and I think it's a good marriage.
You've obviously been in the CPL since the beginning as a player and now as a coach. You are still, as far as managers go, they're very young to be taking the head coaching role. What kind of gave you the confidence that you're ready to take that next step?
I mean, I've always been a student of the game. Being a player in this environment, I almost played in every big city in Canada. I started with Ottawa, went to Edmonton, went to Calgary, and now in Toronto. It's been an interesting ride. I know the scenario of a lot of provinces. What type of players are produced, where they're produced, and I've always really kept my networking quite open to help Canadians go to different places and make bigger jumps. So. The CPL obviously started by providing that, heavily and more focusedly, I think, to players, creating that pathway, creating that opportunity to become professionals. And the more and more you see it now, I have ex-teammates that are involved on the business side of the CPL at different clubs with different roles. And then you have, the other bunch that are more on field. Obviously, the assistant coaches that are in different teams in the CPL. Obviously, I have the example myself, but even a guy that like Oliver Minitel and more of a scouting aspect that made the jump to Orlando. So it's good to see that now it's providing more opportunities for players not only to be involved in the game, but to stay involved in the professional game and ultimately help the game grow in Canada.
How long have you known that you wanted to be a head coach? Was it something that came after you retired as a player, or were you thinking even as a player that this is something you'd like to pursue?
I think once you start coaching, you always have that little bug in you that says you're going to become a head coach. You're going to push for that, and I think you work with a lot of other coaches, and you bounce ideas, and you shape your ideas a little bit more, and you have more convinced. You're more structured on what you want. You believe on more what you want, and was kind of when I started working with other coaches. I was like, okay, I like this, I don't like that, I believe in this, I really don't want to bet on that. So it was something that I always wanted to do. I think I was patient on my role, on my journey. It's something that I knew exactly what my place was. I know exactly what I had to do. As an assistant, you have a different role. You have a different type of communication with players and with staff and with the ownership and everything. But the opportunity was there. I knew I wanted it, and I think I'm at this club for a reason. I've obviously been through a couple episodes in my personal life, always at York, and I think emotionally there's a big attachment to the club, and obviously now with guidance of the ownership and Jorge, I think we were on the right path.
Tell me a little bit about those experiences since you joined the York staff. How have they kind of formed you and the principles that you're going to bring to this job now as a head coach?
I mean, they formed me because we went through a lot of different situations. I mean, obviously coming into the job as a young coach, never really coached professionally. with Martin Nash and creating a good staff with Camilo and Barry. Obviously with Angus being around, it was all very new. We had an ownership at that time, first year we had a lot of bumps, so we had some type of a guidance. Going into our second year, we lost the ownership, so that was a new experience and a new, how do we learn off of it? I think adapting and overcoming was always a big thought process in my head. It was always something I was like, okay, well, we can drop our towel and just be negative and not try to be successful here, or we can look at this as a learning curve, but also push for our objectives. So I think the good thing of this short spell, it's been eventful. It's been a lot of learning, and that just gives me the confidence to obviously understand exactly what I want to do with things, of how I can react to things and how I can fix things. So I'm quite confident in obviously my abilities. This is something that I want. So again, I'm committed to the club. I'm thankful for the opportunity, and we're on the right path again.
How would you describe yourself as a coach to maybe people who are going to get to know you closer now, having been on the staff? What are kind of the non-negotiables or the things you want to bring to this job?
I think every coach has the same kind of ideas, right? You want to win games, you want to score more goals to the opponent, and you want to keep clean sheets. I think that's a pretty overall statement for any coach, and that's what everybody says. I think the biggest thing for me is I'm obsessed with work. I'm obsessed of getting onto the field, of analyzing, of spending hours in the office, of being on the chalkboard. That for me is where I think the success comes out of. So our base, our foundation is going to be work. It's going to start with obviously the staff. It's going to go and pass on to the players, and that's what we're going to be known for. We're going to work hard. We're going to understand exactly what our roles are, what our responsibilities are, and at the end of the day, that work, that commitment, that discipline that we're going to have on a daily basis is going to get us closer to obviously our objectives. So we're a team that we're going to be committed. We're going to be committed. We're going to be competitive, and that's something I believe in.
And talking more specifically about this club and what you want to achieve with it, what can you tell us about maybe the conversations you've had with ownership and other people at the club about what you want to do here in the time you have?
No, I think the club is very clear on what they want to do. They want to win. I think that the mentality and the ambition of them buying a club overseas, I mean, it just makes sense to be here and to do it properly. And doing properly is trophies, right? Obviously, there's a big growth process. There's obviously a year that was quite bumpy. With obviously the changeover of coaches, changeover of players, but now there's stability. There's more understanding of what the league is, obviously on an ownership perspective, on a Jorge perspective as well, and then the players too. The players that we want to bring in understand and will understand a little bit more of what the league is. The league is growing. It's everybody pretty much around the world is talking about the league and talking about Canada soccer. So. It's something that we are studying very, very deeply on who we want to bring, not only as a player but as human beings into this culture, because again we want to be stable. We want to make sure that this is a long-term project, and to do so you have to have the right people, the right players.
Was there a noticeable change last year when the new owners came in that kind of gives you belief that this is a place you can be successful?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you saw right away that the passion that they have for the sport is number one, and that's always good to have. Obviously, the plans and the ambitions that they have is just shows that they want to go big. And obviously, as a player and as a coach, and anyone involved in professional sports, you want to go big. You want to be someone that people look up to. You want to build a good culture. You want to make sure that you're a club that people are knocking at your door to come in. And that's something that we have to create. I think we've known a lot of successful stories, but the biggest thing here is we can't copy what other clubs do. I think we have to find our own identity, and that's something we've been doing in the last year, and that's something we're going to continue to do. We're going to make sure that we're York United, and everybody is going to know what we stand for.
Just a couple more. Obviously, in the CPL, there's always contract situations and a lot to do over the course of an off-season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Brian Wright, the Players Player of the Year, is one of those players. Have you had conversations with the existing squad and what your plans for the off-season that you can tell supporters about at this point?
No, I mean right now is obviously I'm going to be taking a deeper dive into the squad. Obviously, I wasn't in a position to make any of those phone calls or be involved in any of that type of of negotiation, I'd say. Obviously now with the announcement, everything's going to be a lot more official, and again, we're looking at it quite deeply in the last 24 hours, and we're going to continue to do so. So again, what the fans can expect is, again, like I said, a team that's going to be competitive, a team that's going to be wanting to win, and again, we're gonna show that.
And just lastly, when you think to the moment when you got the call, you found out you were getting this job, becoming a head coach at the professional level, what kind of went through your mind, and who do you think about in a moment like that?
No, I think it was it was a journey. It's been very bumpy. Obviously my first thoughts for my parents, just how proud they are up there, and it's been something that when I first took the job as an assistant, they were always very happy, even though I wasn't playing, my parents would still stay up at 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and I'd always get a picture of me in the corner behind either Nashi or something along those lines. Hey, my mom saying, I see you. So I think those moments all came back. I think that's like the pure joy of being involved in such a sport that's so important to a family. And they followed us as players. They followed me as a coach, and I'll never forget that. They've always been my number one supporters. So obviously, the first thought process was them, but there's a whole group behind. Obviously me and my brother being stable. Obviously my brother, me and him have been very close. We've always had a very close relationship, but obviously now with the passing of both of my parents, has been something that we really lean on each other quite heavily, and we talk about everything. We have the heavy conversations, we have the light conversations. Even yesterday, spent pretty much the whole day with them, bouncing around from meeting to meetings, from contract, whatever it was, and we were quite together. And he's been very, very honest with me on how to approach things, and I've been very honest with him. And obviously my partner, I think she's on this journey. I brought her away from Calgary now for some time, and she's been super supportive. So. There's a lot of people behind this journey, and there's a lot of people that, again, I want to keep climbing. I want to be successful, and I want to take those people with me.